Lübeck, a beautiful city on the Trave River in the northern German state of Schleswig-Holstein. And I chose this destination for a very specific reason. Lübeck is known as a Christmas town, and that's why I'm here at Christmas time. I really hope to get into the Christmassy mood and of course get to know the city as well. I'll definitely make my way to the Holsten Gate. It's the best known landmark and symbol of the city. We'll also check out a few of Lübeck's museums, like the Buddenbrook-Haus. And we'll enjoy a Christmas video sent in by 2 viewers from Kazan in Russia. There are a number of Christmas markets in Lübeck. This one is in the north of the old town. How about a kiss? I've never seen this before, a Christmas market with maritime flair. All this reminds us that the sailors and fishermen used to live in this area. Lübeck is not only located on the river, but also close to the Baltic Sea. It's only about 20 kilometers away from here. And this is St. Jacobi, the Mariners' Church. This stately church is a memorial site for international seafarers who have died at sea. A lifeboat commemorates one particularly tragic incident. In 1957, a sailing vessel called the Pamir sank in the Atlantic Ocean during a hurricane. 80 men died, some were still quite young. St. Jacobi, or St. James Church, is one of 5 large churches in the center of the town. I'll come back later, then it's supposed to be really tranquil here. We'll continue by strolling through Lübeck's festively decorated old town. The town hall dates back to the 13th century. Altered over the centuries, it combines a variety of architectural styles. Just across the way, I grabbed the chance to treat myself to the taste of Christmas, which is available in many shapes and sizes. Lübeck marzipan is known the world over, and Niederegger is probably the most famous manufacturer. The building also houses a small marzipan museum. I've arranged to meet a company spokesperson here. What does marzipan have to do with Christmas? Here in Germany, they go hand in hand.
Yes, they're very closely linked. Marzipan still is most popular at Christmas. Historically, that was partly because the 2 ingredients, almonds and sugar, were very expensive. So it was a treat reserved for special occasions such as holidays. That's why marzipan is so closely associated with Christmas and Easter.
So you make marzipan with almonds and sugar, and what else?
That's about it. But there's a little more to it. When you buy the ingredients, make sure the almonds are of high quality, from the Mediterranean, for instance. They have an intense flavor and are ideal for making good marzipan. Then they're blended with sugar, but it matters how much sugar you use. The less, the better, so that the marzipan isn't too sweet.
Why is marzipan such a big thing here in Lübeck?
When Lübeck was part of the Hanseatic League, it was a leading economic center in Europe, and the ingredients were readily available. So it was easy enough for confectioners to make marzipan because they could always get almonds and sugar.
How do visitors from abroad like it?
It always differs slightly depending on where they come from. In England, for instance, marzipan is well known. They know what it is, and they're familiar with the Niederegger brand because England is one of our primary export partners. Japanese visitors often ask, what is marzipan? So we have to explain how it's made and what's in it. Chocolate pralines aren't as common there as they are here in Germany either, so it's always quite interesting. And once they've tried it, they usually like it.
dann sind sie meistens doch überzeugt von dem Geschmack.
Here in the museum, you can learn all sorts of things about the history of marzipan and the Niederegger family business, founded over 200 years ago. Wow, these are really intricate works of art, and they've all been made from marzipan. I'd like to try my hand at that.
Hallo,
Hello, I'm Lukas.
ich bin Lukas.
Hi, I'm Barbara. Have you ever done this?
Nein,
No,
das erste Mal.
never.
It's not hard. First, you roll it into a ball.
Okay. Ein bisschen wie ein
A
Schneeball.
bit like making a snowball.
Yes, like a snowball.
Machst du das
Mine
anders?
looks different.
Yours looks more like an egg.
Ja, ja, ich bin
I'm not yet finished.
noch dabei. Was wollen wir eigentlich?
What are we making?
A cat with a Santa hat.
Now I knead the ball into a pear shape.
Runter wird's nicht.
And then I form the front legs.
Mit dem
Next, we make the ears and tail. It's pretty detailed work. Now, the eyes, complete with pupils. Here's how it looks so far.
Auf dieser Seite.
This is Barbara's cat.
Barbara. Auf dieser Seite.
And this
meine
one's
Karte.
mine.
That's not true.
Okay. Dann noch mal
Okay,
die
I'll tell the truth.
Hier ist die von
This
Barbara.
one's Barbara's and this one's mine. As you see, mine is slightly deformed.
Deformiert ist.
Last step, the Santa hat. This could save my creation. Well, so this cat's a little quirky.
Da unten links ist die Kamera, da musst du rein. Super. Dankeschön, Barbara.
Thanks, Barbara.
A pleasure. You did great. Bye.
Christmas is also celebrated in a big way in Russia, but in January. Anastasia Filina and Anton Suhovoy from Kazan filmed the spectacular Christmas lights in their city. Here's our weekly viewer video. Lübeck's Old Town is a tangle of narrow streets. Due to a lack of space during the Middle Ages, houses were built in large courtyards. Back then, it probably felt cramped. Today, it seems romantic. Many of these small houses are rented out as holiday homes. Alleys and courtyards are typical of the Old Town. They were created when Lübeck grew rapidly in the Middle Ages. Commerce made the city rich at that time. Its location on the Trave River and close proximity to the Baltic Sea were very advantageous. The old warehouses are still quite impressive. The most famous landmark of Lübeck, the Holstengate. In 2006, it was even stamped on the €2 coin. So if you're in Lübeck, go to the gate. There you can really learn something about the history of this city.
Great wealth fosters envy. The Holsten Gate was built in the 15th century to help defend the city.
If I'd had a weapon and the city were under siege, yes, I'd probably have fought too.
I think I'd actually use the cannon to defend the city.
I'd have tried to protect myself with a shield and attacked with a lance.
Fortunately, those times are long gone. Behind these walls, which are a meter thick in places, there is now a museum. The Holsten Gate was one of 3 city gates.
Lübeck was an extremely important trade hub on the Baltic Sea coast. It was the first port, the first Christian city. It was the gateway to the east.
One of the major trade goods was dried cod. It was also eaten a lot on land.
Go ahead and touch it. Nothing can happen. Dried fish, cod. Have any of you ever tried it? Would you like to this evening? Should I prepare some for you?
It feels like plastic.
But it's real.
No, I don't think my teeth could take it.
The people of Lübeck were experienced seafarers. They were constantly developing and improving their seagoing technology.
Let's take a look under this cover. We can see some of the navigational instruments of the time. There's a compass, a sextant, and a telescope.
Ein Kompass, ein Sextant, ein Fernglas.
What would have happened if enemies or foes had actually invaded the city? Then all the men, all citizens, would have been called to arms.
But that wasn't necessary. The city was never attacked in those days.
I think it's fascinating. I'm not from here, and I've never seen such thick walls before.
I'm awed by the fact that these structures were built by hand.
It takes you back to the Middle Ages. You really get a sense of what it was like then.
Seafaring and trade. You can learn more about it in the European Hanse Museum. The Hanseatic League was an allegiance of trading guilds and towns in the Middle Ages. It extended from Bergen to London and from Bruges to Novgorod. The merchants often spent years away from home on adventurous and dangerous journeys. On display are documents and trade agreements dating from the Hanseatic period.
Hallo, guten Tag.
Welcome. We're here in Bruges in an installation. Our museum doesn't just have display cases, it also has staged historical rooms. Here you see a stall where goods from Novgorod were traded. This is a reproduction of a linen material, but it must have looked a lot like this in the Middle Ages.
What did they trade here?
The Hanseatic merchants traded in everything they had in the Middle Ages. Things you might consider consumer goods, such as grain. But also things we see here, things made of metal, weapons, furs, wax. Those are all things the merchants bought and sold.
It's great that visitors can touch everything here.
Yes, we're here in a room that depicts a mid-14th century trading hall in Bruges. And here's a stall where you can see more or less how weapons, armor, and small drinking vessels were sold.
And how much of a role did Lübeck play? It's considered the queen of the Hanseatic League.
That's right. Lübeck played a central role because most of the Hanseatic days were held in Lübeck. These meetings were basically a council where the cities or their merchants met to discuss decisions and in the end pass resolutions.
And how important is the Hanseatic League today?
Nowadays, a new Hanseatic League has been founded. It's an alliance of towns dealing with improving tourism, boosting trade, and networking. The new Hanseatic League was founded in 1980. So, in a way, it's a continuation.
Another recommendation for you. 3 museums dedicated to famous men who used to live in Lübeck or came from here. The special feature is that each of them has received a Nobel Prize.
Thomas Mann, Günter Grass, and Willy Brandt. These are all names associated with Lübeck. Our first museum tip is the Willy Brandt House. The former West German Chancellor was born and raised here in Lübeck. A staunch social democrat, in 1971, Brandt was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize for his policy of rapprochement with the Eastern Bloc countries. Right next door is another museum worth a visit. It's dedicated to the writer, sculptor, painter, and graphic artist Günter Grass. He was awarded the Nobel Prize in Literature in 1999. One of his best-known novels is The Tin Drum. Literature in a museum doesn't have to be dry as dust.
We present art and literature in a modern way, using multimedia exhibitions, so that people can see Günter Grass's life and work via films, music, audio recordings, and videos.
Günter Grass Leben und Werk erkennen kann.
And then there's the Buddenbrook House, the setting of the novel Buddenbrooks. For his saga about a merchant's family, Thomas Mann received the Nobel Prize in Literature in 1929. Every year during Advent, a room is decorated to represent the family's Christmas room.
One object here among all the presents on the table is very special. That's the toy theater that Hanno receives. It's worth noting that Thomas Mann also had such a toy theater, and later said it was the most prized and meaningful toy of his childhood because it stimulated his imagination so much.
The festive readings from the chapter Christmas at the Buddenbrooks have become a tradition.
The large drawing room was already closed off. Marzipan and brown cake were already on the table. It was already Christmas in the town outside.
Now I'm going to take a look at Lübeck from above. The best place to do that is the observation deck in St. Peter's Church. By the way, Lübeck's Old Town is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. More than 1,000 buildings here are landmarked. And now, from cold Germany to warm Brazil, in our Meet a Local slot, we visit Anais Pauletti Fernandes. She lives in the largest city of Brazil, in Sao Paulo, and shows us the most beautiful places there.
Welcome to Sao Paulo. I'm Anais, and I'm a Paulistana. That's what they call the locals here. Today, I'm going to show you my city. We're starting on the main street, the Avenida Paulista. Let's go. The Avenida Paulista is the heart of Sao Paulo. Companies, multinationals, banks, museums, and other institutions are all headquartered here. Sao Paulo is Brazil's most important financial, cultural, and economic center. During the week, the traffic is chaotic here, but on Sundays, cars are banned, and there's a lot happening on the streets. There's dancing everywhere and free dance courses. This one is the popular Samba Rock. The Museu de Arte de Sao Paulo is also on the Avenida Paulista. It's our city landmark. It's the most renowned art museum in Brazil because it has the largest collection of European art in Latin America. It contains work by such artists as Renoir, the Brazilian artist Candido Portinari, Monet, and Van Gogh. Here we are in Ibirapuera Park. We Paulistanos love to come here because there's not much green in the city otherwise. Here you can get a sense of Sao Paulo's size. It has more than 12 million inhabitants, so it's the most populated city in South America. There are also museums in the park and buildings by Oscar Niemeyer, Brazil's most famous architect. Every Paulistano can recognize from the street lamps where we are, in the Liberdade district. This is where the largest Japanese community outside Japan lives. There are also Koreans, Chinese, and other nationalities. You can buy presents, go shopping, and buy food here. It's a very lively district. Every Sunday there's a market here. It's the best place to eat typical Japanese dishes, and whether for food or other reasons, it's definitely worth a visit. Now we're in Villa Madalena. Paulistanos like to come here to enjoy the nightlife, meet friends, and drink a beer. That's what I'm going to do. So our tour ends here. I hope you've enjoyed it. Come visit Sao Paulo.
Evening is falling, which is the best time to visit many of the Christmas markets in Lübeck. Let's head back to the town hall. Mulled wine, Christmas decorations, roasted almonds. It's also enticing. Everything sparkles and shines. Is that all you need to get in the Christmas spirit? Are you getting in the mood for Christmas?
I'm on a spending spree. No, I am feeling Christmas. I think Lübeck always goes all out, and it does a beautiful job.
I come here every year to drink mulled wine and eat donuts with my family. I think it's great.
Yes, of course. You can see there's a lot of small shops here, and one can really enjoy the typisch Essen and Glühwein. It's Besonderes, yeah?
The harmony, the old town and the sea of lights, that's what I love, especially at this time of year, November, December, the dark months. It's lovely.
In the fairy tale forest, you can see depictions of stories by the Brothers Grimm. Hansel and Gretel, King Thrushbeard, and the Frog King. And who's this? My namesake Lucas, or Luke, the engine driver. Now we're at the medieval market. Over here, it's a bit more quiet and cozy, the way it should be at Christmas time. The day is over and I'm in the Christmassy mood. The medieval flair of the old town certainly adds to the festive atmosphere. Well, this mixture of seafaring tradition and Christmas City is certainly something very special that I have never experienced before. Now, there's only one thing missing. Back to St. Jacobi, where singing Christmas carols is an annual tradition.